And multiple reports from North St. Louis County residents of a strange noise.
Yeah, the source of that noise is still unclear, and they brought their complaints to Contact 2's Mike Colombo.
Have you heard them? Strange, unsettling sounds echoing from the sky. Reports of these eerie noises have been popping up all over the world, leaving many feeling uneasy. Is it a sign of the end times, or something more down to earth? Reports of eerie noises resonating through the atmosphere have left many baffled and fearful. From the US to Europe, from Asia to Africa, these sounds have been documented in various forms. But what could be causing them? While some attribute these sounds to natural phenomena like seismic activity or meteors, others speculate about man-made causes, such as military experiments or sonic booms. And then there are those who entertain the possibility of unidentified atmospheric events, igniting imaginations with tales of the unknown. But why do these phenomena stir up such intense emotions, especially the fear of the end times? Could it be linked to ancient prophecies and religious texts, speaking of trumpets heralding cataclysmic events? The idea of the apocalypse has long fascinated and terrified humanity. References to cataclysmic events and divine judgments can indeed be found in various religious scriptures. Throughout history, people have often predicted the end of the world. From the Mormon Armageddon in 1891 to the Y2K scare in 2000 and the Mayan calendar ending in 2012, these events are usually seen as entertainment. However, some groups take these predictions seriously, believing that the world will end soon. According to the Chapman Survey of American Fears, only about 16.4% of Americans fear an apocalypse. While this might seem low, more people are worried about other things like animal extinction, economic collapse, and warfare with nuclear or biological weapons. Overall, people fear everyday problems and worry that the world might change dramatically in the future. There are two main groups of believers in apocalyptic theories. One group thinks the world will end no matter what, while the other believes humans are causing its downfall. Fear of the apocalypse matters today because it can create distrust among communities and trouble for elected leaders. If more people fear the end of the world, it could lead to different opinions on environmental and economic policies, as well as how the government spends its money. The idea of the apocalypse can be scary. The Bible mentions trumpets heralding the end times, so it's natural for some to connect these sounds with that. In the Bible's book of Revelation, there are 7 angels who blow 7 trumpets, one after the other. These trumpets signal major events seen by John the Apostle in his vision. These events happen after the opening of the 7th seal, which was holding a special document. The trumpets are not like the ones we have today. They were more like narrow tubes made of bronze. The last 3 trumpets are often called the woe trumpets because they bring about really bad things. After the Israelites escaped from Egypt, God asked Moses to make 2 silver trumpets, which were called the chazozra. Another kind of horn used by ancient Hebrews was the shofar, made from a ram's horn. So, what happens when these trumpets are blown? Well, with the first trumpet, hail and fire mixed with blood rain down on the earth, burning up 1/3 of all the trees and grass. Then, with the second trumpet, a huge burning mountain falls into the sea, turning 1/3 of the oceans into blood and causing a lot of sea creatures and ships to be destroyed. Next, with the third trumpet, a star called wormwood crashes onto Earth, poisoning 1/3 of the freshwater sources like rivers and springs, making many people sick and die. After that, when the fourth trumpet is blown, 1/3 of the light from the sun, moon, and stars disappears, making the world really dark for 1/3 of the day and even during the night. In the book of Revelation, after the first 4 trumpets bring disasters like hailstorms and darkness, there are 3 more trumpets that bring even worse troubles. Before the 5th trumpet, an angel warns that bad times are coming for those on earth. When the fifth trumpet is blown, a special star falls from the sky and gets a key to open a deep pit. Smoke comes out of this pit, darkening the air and blocking sunlight. Then strange creatures called locusts emerge from the smoke. These locusts look like horses with human faces, lion's teeth, and scorpion tails. They wear crowns and armor and are led by a king named Abaddon. Their job is to torture people who don't have God's protection on their foreheads, but they're not allowed to kill anyone during 5 months. After the fifth trumpet, the sixth one is blown, bringing the second woe. 4 angels are set free from the Euphrates River, leading an army of 200 million horsemen. These horsemen cause great destruction with fire, smoke, and sulfur coming from their mouths. They ride horses with lion-like heads and tails like serpents, killing a third of humanity. Finally, the seventh trumpet sounds, bringing the third woe. Voices in heaven declare that the world now belongs to God and His Messiah, and they will reign forever. In Christian teachings about the end times, the first 6 trumpets serve as warnings to people on earth to wake up and repent for their sins. Each trumpet brings a more severe disaster than the one before it, like a series of alarms getting louder and more urgent. The 7th trumpet, however, doesn't bring a disaster. Instead, it's blown to honor God and announce His kingdom. Some Christians believe that these trumpet blasts were warnings to the people of Israel at that time and symbolize events like wars. For example, they see the second trumpet as representing Rome's destruction of Galilee. Others think that the events described, like a mountain falling into the sea, could be caused by things like asteroids hitting the earth. According to some Christian beliefs, the 7th trumpet is linked to the last trumpet mentioned in the Bible. They see connections between passages in different parts of the Bible to support the idea that Jesus will come after a time of trouble and that His followers will be taken up to be with Him then. They believe that when the 7th trumpet sounds, it signals the end of time as we know it, and Jesus will begin His everlasting rule, rewarding the righteous and judging the wicked based on their actions. According to the Baha'i faith, the first woe represents the coming of Muhammad, the second woe is about the arrival of the Bab, and the third woe marks the promised day of God, which is the appearance of Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith. The 7th angel, or trumpet, symbolizes special individuals who are like angels in their character, and they will happily announce the coming of Baha'u'llah, who is seen as the promised leader. Some scholars talk about a musical piece, apart from Gustav Mahler's Second Symphony, where the 7 trumpets are represented by 4 trumpets, a bass drum, cymbals, and a triangle. These instruments are played off stage in the music. Religious texts are often filled with symbolism. Trumpets might represent a significant change, not necessarily the literal destruction of the world. History is littered with false prophecies of the end times. Fear-mongering doesn't help anyone. But some people are saying that the end times will come when Jesus returns to Earth. In a 2010 survey, around 40% of Americans believed that Jesus would come back by 2050. This belief is strongest among white evangelical Christians, with 58% holding this view, while fewer Catholics, 32%, and white mainline Protestants, 27%, believe in it. The idea of Jesus returning has been popular in the United States since the late 19th century, thanks to evangelist Dwight L. Moody and the rise of Christian fundamentalism in the 1920s. One interpretation of Jesus' second coming, known as preterism, links it to events in the 1st century, like the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. Some preterists believe that Jesus' death on the cross fulfilled the signs of the apocalypse, though others argue that not all the signs mentioned in religious texts have come to pass. According to the Catholic Church, Jesus' return will happen suddenly and unexpectedly, with nobody knowing exactly when it will occur, not even angels or demons. This event will mark the full realization of God's reign and the completion of the universe and humanity. The reign of God means that God's victory over sin, suffering, and Satan, achieved through Jesus' crucifixion, will be fully revealed. just as God gradually revealed himself to Israel until Jesus' birth. God's victory is gradually shown through church sacraments, like baptism and holy unction. Ultimately, this victory will be fully realized when the universe and humanity share in Jesus' resurrection, with the universe being transformed and the dead being resurrected, judged, and rewarded. The church doesn't believe that Jesus' second coming will happen because of a big disaster, like a nuclear war, or because someone claims to be Jesus coming back through reincarnation. It also doesn't believe that social progress, like ending slavery, or technological advances, like curing diseases, will bring about the second coming. Likewise, the church doesn't think that having political power will lead to Jesus' return. They also reject the idea of double predestination, where some people are destined for heaven and others for hell, with no chance to change. When Jesus does return, three things will happen all at once. Those who are alive will die, the universe will change dramatically, and everyone who has died will be brought back to life, judged, and rewarded or punished. After this moment, nobody knows what will happen next. The church believes that Jesus won't come back until everyone in Israel recognizes him. His return will be followed by a final temptation, where people will be tested to see if they will stay faithful to Jesus or turn away because of the influence of the Antichrist. However, there are things that can make Jesus' return happen sooner. These include celebrating the Eucharist, living like Jesus did, and praying for his return. Like many Christian groups, the church sees Jesus' second coming as the final judgment by God of everyone in the world. Some will be rewarded with eternal happiness, while others will face punishment. This belief is found in the Bible, especially in the Gospel of Matthew. During this final judgment, whether someone practiced acts of mercy and kindness during their life will be a big factor. This is because these acts, known as the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, are seen as important signs of love and justice. The connection between the Last Judgment and acts of mercy is often depicted in Christian art. Orthodox Christians believe that Jesus' return will happen suddenly, like a bolt of lightning. They think that Jesus won't come back to teach or preach, but will immediately judge everyone. They also believe that the Antichrist's influence will be strong just before Jesus returns. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church believes that Jesus' second coming will be very different from his first. His first coming was to save people, but his second coming will be for a different purpose. Some Orthodox Christians, like Alexander Kalomiros, explain that the original church didn't believe in Jesus coming back to rule on earth for 1,000 years. They think this idea is wrong because it's like waiting for the Antichrist instead of Jesus. They believe Jesus coming as a king on earth is a wrong idea, similar to what the Jews wanted from their Messiah. Instead, the church teaches something else, though it's not entirely clear what that is. In the Nicene Creed and Apostles' Creed, which are recited in Lutheran and Anglican churches, it's said that Jesus will come again in glory to judge everyone, and his kingdom will never end. Similar statements are found in the Bible. In Lutheran and Anglican church services, they proclaim the mystery of faith, saying, "Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again." In Islam, Jesus is seen as a messenger of God and the Messiah who was sent to guide the Israelites with a new scripture, the Gospel. Muslims believe in Jesus and all the other messengers of God, but they don't believe Jesus was crucified or resurrected. Instead, they think he went straight to heaven. They also don't see Jesus as the Son of God, but as a prophet. According to the Quran, Jesus was born to the Virgin Mary, performed miracles with God's permission, but he wasn't killed or crucified as some believed. Instead, God raised him up to himself. In the Quran, there's a conversation between God and Jesus on Judgment Day. God asks Jesus if he ever told people to worship him and his mother as gods besides Allah. Jesus responds that he only told people to worship Allah as God ordered him to. He says he was a witness to the people as long as he was with them, and when God took him away, God became the witness over them. According to the Quran, the second coming of Jesus is a sign that Judgment Day is near. In a verse from Surah Az-Zukhruf, it's mentioned that Jesus will come back, and people shouldn't doubt that Judgment Day is coming. They should follow Jesus because he shows the right way. Islamic scholar Ibn Kathir uses this verse to explain that Jesus will come again according to the Quran. There are also sayings attributed to the Prophet Muhammad called hadiths that talk about Jesus' return. One such hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari says that Jesus will come back as a just ruler. He will do things like breaking the cross, killing pigs, and getting rid of a certain tax. There will be so much money that people won't even want to accept it as charity. So, according to Islamic teachings, Jesus will come back before Judgment Day as a sign that the end is near. He will return as a just leader and do certain things, as mentioned in the hadiths. This belief is important in Islam and is mentioned in the Quran and the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. According to Islamic tradition, Jesus will come back during a time of great conflict. He will join forces with the Mahdi, who is seen as the Redeemer of Islam, to fight against the false Messiah, known as the Antichrist. Jesus will appear near Damascus, wearing special clothes, and he will follow Islamic teachings. He will defeat the Antichrist, and everyone from the people of the book, Jews and Christians, will believe in him, bringing everyone into the community of Islam. After the Mahdi dies, Jesus will take over as leader, bringing peace and justice to the world. However, there will still be trouble caused by ancient tribes called Gog and Magog, who will eventually be dealt with by God. In the Baha'i faith, the second coming is understood differently. They believe it's a gradual process happening throughout history as human civilization advances. They see the founders of major world religions as manifestations of God, each introducing new teachings and laws. They believe that each of these founders represents a return of the Word and Spirit of God. For example, Baha'is believe Baha'u'llah, the founder of their faith, is the return of Christ. They see him as fulfilling the prophecies of the second coming by bringing new spiritual teachings and fulfilling the promises made in various religious scriptures. Baha'u'llah himself claimed to be the return of Christ and wrote letters to religious leaders, declaring his station. Baha'is believe that the fulfillment of prophecies about the second coming happened through Baha'u'llah's teachings and the events that occurred during his time. They interpret the fulfillment of Christian prophecies symbolically and spiritually rather than literally, similar to how Jesus fulfilled Jewish prophecies in a spiritual sense. Overall, according to Islamic tradition, Jesus will return during a time of conflict to bring peace and justice to the world. He will fight alongside the Mahdi against the Antichrist and then lead as a just ruler. In the Baha'i faith, the second coming is seen as a gradual process throughout history, with different manifestations of God bringing new teachings and fulfilling prophecies from various religions. Baha'is believe Baha'u'llah is the fulfillment of Christ's return, bringing spiritual renewal and fulfilling promises from religious scriptures. In modern times, some Indian religious leaders see Jesus as an incarnation of God. Dayamata, a disciple of Yogananda, wrote that this book represents the essence of Christianity as taught by Jesus. She describes Yogananda as looking very happy as he wrote down these teachings, which he said he received directly from Jesus. Larry Dossey, a doctor, says that Yogananda's book is very important for understanding Jesus' teachings. While some interpretations of Jesus' words can divide people, Yogananda's teachings promote unity and healing, making them essential for our world today. In conclusion, the strange sounds we've been hearing in the sky, along with the idea of the world ending, have gotten a lot of people talking. Some folks think it's a sign that the end of the world is near, while others say it's just natural stuff like earthquakes or military stuff making the noise. Throughout history, people have been fascinated by the idea of the world ending, and different religions have their own take on it. Some believe in literal interpretations of ancient texts, like the Bible's Book of Revelation, while others see it more as a metaphor for spiritual change. For instance, in Islamic tradition, Jesus coming back is seen as a good thing, bringing peace during tough times. In the Baha'i faith, it's about spiritual renewal happening over time. No matter what we believe, these sounds and ideas remind us to stay curious and open-minded about the mysteries of the world. What do you think about these mysterious sounds? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more explorations of science and the unexplained.